The South Caucasus has once again become the epicenter of a dangerous geopolitical storm, and the stakes this time are alarmingly high. Russia has carried out airstrikes on Azerbaijani positions, a move that has immediately sparked concerns across the region and beyond. Azerbaijan, strategically located between Russia, Iran, and the Caspian Sea, has been walking a tightrope in balancing relations with global powers. But Moscow's decision to launch direct strikes signals a dramatic shift. Analysts point out that this is not just a simple border skirmish, it is a deliberate message from the Kremlin, one that ties into both its regional dominance, ambitions, and its global power play in the wake of its ongoing confrontation with the West. For Azerbaijan, these strikes not only represent a direct military threat but also a blow to its economic lifeline. As energy, infrastructure, and trade routes are now potentially in the crosshairs, the timing of these events is crucial. Russia is under severe pressure from sanctions and its war in Ukraine, and it cannot afford instability along its southern borders without controlling the narrative. The attacks could be designed to remind Azerbaijan of Moscow's reach and to discourage Baku from deepening its cooperation with Western and Turkish partners. In recent years, Azerbaijan has been an important energy supplier to Europe, bypassing Russian pipelines, a fact that has not gone unnoticed in the Kremlin. By targeting Azerbaijani positions, Moscow may be sending a warning about aligning too closely with NATO members, especially Turkey, which has been a staunch ally of Baku both militarily and politically. As if that wasn't enough, Iran has now entered the fray with strong warnings to Armenia. Tehran has made it clear that any move to establish a US-backed corridor through Armenian territory will be met with fierce opposition. This proposed corridor, often referred to as part of broader Western infrastructure plans, could connect Armenia more directly to Western markets and reduce Russian control over transit routes. Iran sees such a move as a direct threat to its own regional influence and a possible encirclement strategy. The warning comes at a time when Iran itself is grappling with internal unrest, economic struggles, and mounting pressure from Israel and the US over its nuclear ambitions. By adopting a hardline stance, Tehran may be trying to reassert itself as a regional power broker and prove it still has the leverage to shape outcomes in the Caucasus. The dynamics here are incredibly complex. On one side, you have Rushan, embattled, but still potent military power, flexing its muscles to keep its influence intact. On another, Azerbaijan, an energy-rich nation, leveraging its partnerships with Turkey, Europe, and even Israel, now facing the real possibility of escalation. Then there's Armenia, historically aligned with Russia, but recently exploring closer ties with the West, after feeling abandoned during past conflicts. And finally, Iran, whose involvement raises the stakes even higher. Given its tense relations with the West and its strategic interest in preventing any geopolitical shifts along its northern border, this is not just about the three nations directly involved at SA chessboard, where every move could trigger a wider confrontation militarily. The situation is volatile. Russia's strikes have demonstrated its willingness to take swift and decisive action, even outside its core war effort in Ukraine. The Russian military, despite being stretched, still maintains air superiority and precision strike capabilities that can disrupt regional stability overnight. Azerbaijan, meanwhile, boasts advanced drones and weaponry, much of it supplied by Turkey and Israel, which have given it an edge in previous conflicts with Armenia. However, going head-to-head with Russia is an entirely different scenario, as Moscow's military reach and air defense systems remain formidable. For Iran, its military posture towards Armenia is more about deterrence and signaling than an immediate battlefield confrontation, but its support could complicate any Western or Azerbaijani attempts to alter the regional status quo economically. The consequences could be just as severe as the military risks. The South Caucasus is a critical transit hub for energy pipelines carrying oil and gas from the Caspian Sea to European markets. Disruption here doesn't just affect Azerbaijan, it could tighten energy supplies globally, drive up prices, and create new leverage for Russia in its energy war with the West. For Azerbaijan, defending these pipelines is not just a matter of national security, but economic survival. Iran's opposition to the US-backed corridor also has economic undertones. Tehran fears losing potential transit fees and influence over trade routes. If Armenia and the West create alternative channels that bypass Iranian territory diplomatically, the developments are pushing regional alliances into sharper focus. Turkey has already voiced strong support for Azerbaijan and warned against any aggression that threatens its ally. This could put Ankara on a collision course with Moscow, especially if Russia continues strikes. While Turkey and Russia have managed to maintain a pragmatic relationship despite differences in Syria, Libya, and Ukraine, the Caucasus is an arena where their interests could directly clash. The West, particularly the EU and the US, faces a dilemma: how to support Azerbaijan and Armenia in ways that do not trigger a direct confrontation with Russia or Iran. This balancing act is complicated by the fact that both Baku and Yerevan have varying degrees of cooperation. with Western powers but also depend on relations with their larger neighbors for security and trade. The propaganda war is already in full swing. Russian state media portrays the strikes as necessary defensive measures against alleged Azerbaijani provocations, while Azerbaijani officials describe them as unprovoked acts of aggression. Iran's statements have been equally forceful, framing the U.S. corridor plan as a destabilizing foreign plot designed to weaken regional sovereignty. Social media channels linked to all sides are amplifying their narratives, each aiming to rally domestic support and shape international perception. In such an environment, misinformation spreads quickly, making it even harder for outside observers to gauge the real situation on the ground. Looking deeper, this crisis reveals the fragility of post-Soviet borders and the unresolved tensions that have lingered since the fall of the U.S. The Nagorno-Karabakh conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan has flared up repeatedly over the past 3 decades, with Russia often playing the role of mediator or manipulator, depending on its strategic interests at the time. The recent events show that peace in the region remains elusive, and that old grievances can easily be reignited when larger geopolitical forces are at play. For Armenia, being caught between an assertive Russia and an unpredictable Iran while trying to court Western support is a diplomatic balancing act of extreme difficulty. For Azerbaijan, the challenge is to maintain its hard-won strategic autonomy without provoking a conflict it cannot win alone. What makes this particular escalation so dangerous is that it doesn't appear to have a clear off-ramp. Russia's aggression, Iran's warnings, and the ongoing mistrust between Armenia and Azerbaijan create a perfect storm where even a minor incident could spiral out of control. The military assets in play are significant, and the region's geography with narrow corridors, high mountain passes, and limited escape routes means any fighting would be intense and hard to contain. Both Russia and Iran have the capacity to sustain prolonged engagements in the region if they choose to, while Azerbaijan and Armenia, though smaller, could rely on external support that might drag other powers into the mix. This is why many analysts are warning that the situation in the South Caucasus today resembles other flashpoints in history that preceded larger wars. The combination of military posturing, economic pressure, and nationalist rhetoric is a dangerous mix. The question now is whether diplomacy can move fast enough to prevent an irreversible slide into conflict. In the meantime, countries in the region are likely to step up military readiness, reinforce alliances, and prepare for the possibility that war, once again, could erupt in a place where the scars of past battles have never truly healed.